Hey, what's up you guys? Bloody Jacob here to bring you my weekly review of Van Helsing on Syfy. This week we've seen Season 1, Episode 11, which was called Last Time. And finally getting a review out on time tonight, which is nice. I got out of work at 6, so I was actually able to watch this when it actually aired. So that's a nice change of pace. Van Helsing is a show I just absolutely have fallen in love with, and I'm happy to review it as soon as I possibly can. So right now is sort of a happy moment for me. But this episode, it surprised me in some sad and somewhat frustrating ways, but also it was good. It's a weird mixed bag. On paper, this is a pretty simple episode, with our group visiting or sort of temporarily staying at Susan's family farm, her old parents' farm, and I'm sort of holding up there. And, of course, then we touch base with, Rebecca and Dimitri, more of their conflict and such. But this episode, it seems simple on paper, but a setting like this, a location like this, for a whole episode has the potential to be a very character, driven episode or a very personal episode. And it's kind of what we got. It's hard to talk about this episode without talking about the pretty big character death we got in it. Something I didn't see coming, and it's a bit of a downer, to be honest. But we'll talk more about that when it gets here in a few minutes. But we start off, Julius, he has chained Magnolia. I'm sorry, I'm mispronouncing her name, but the vampire who we've seen dealing with Eden, who turned out to be the wife to Micah or Mika. I'm just mispronouncing names left and right. But she is chained to a tree by Julius, and he of course finds out from her that Vanessa had been involved in what happened there, and explains why he has no precious infants to feed on or anything like that. She basically says that she will help them find her. And like I said, the group, they end up going to Susan's family farm, and then she sees her mother's grave from before the Rising. It's stated that she died actually a couple of years prior. And throughout the episode, we sort of find out just how much of a strained relationship, I should say, that Susan had with her family. We find out that her father is, probably pretty abusive. He had sort of shut off contact from her and her mother, and of course, it had been 2 years since her mother died, and she had never known about it. So it shows quite a bit right there, and she also implies something that her father had done to her when she was younger. They didn't need to go too deep into that, though. Just implying it, we could understand what kind of thing she was referring to. So, of course, very dark stuff there. But, I like this episode because, it was a very personal episode for Susan, and what ends up happening to Susan. There's spoilers in the title, so, don't blame me if you haven't watched the episode yet and you hear what I'm about to say. But I just have to talk about Susan's death in this episode. It was surprising, I'll give it that. I didn't expect Susan to be killed off before the end of season 1. I had thought she was going to be one of our mainstay characters. Once she was turned back into a human by Vanessa, and especially once we've seen what connection those two could have as more than just friends, perhaps. You guys know how much I supported that back on episode 9. So it was a shocker to me that she was killed off, but then the way she was killed off, so almost cruelly. I know that's the kind of world they live in, but I don't know if it was the best choice writing or story wise. Okay, I'll talk about more of the episode before I talk about this one thing for 20 minutes. They head into the attic for protection. It's a better strategical strategical point for defense. And they do find this radio, and it actually works, and they make contact with this guy named, I think his name is Gordo or something, and he says he's in like Salt Lake City or something like that, Utah, and he says it's just as bad. He mentions Colorado perhaps not being quite as bad as everywhere else, and so Colorado is sort of starting to be thought of as the next location for them to head to. But of course, Muhammad also still wants to find his sister. Vanessa thinking that if Colorado is safe, maybe her daughter somehow ended up there. But of course, Muhammad's sister being Shima, at the not the layer, but sort of like the base that Rebecca and Dimitri are staying at, where some of that revolution stuff's been trying to happen. I should have probably brought that up earlier, that Shima is Muhammad's sister. That wasn't really like directly said too much before, I don't think, but that is still the case, so there's a good character connection right there. And it's going to be especially a weird situation once they do end up finding each other with, of course, Shima's connection to Rebecca, whatever that is, and such. But it was good that they made contact here. I wonder if we're going to hear from the Gordo guy again or something, I don't know. I don't think he's going to turn into like a Citizen Z or anything for our Van Helsing group here, but still it was a good moment. Then we get Sam. He shaves his head, he shaves his beard. I think he looked great with the beard, but when he shaves, he just looks creepy as hell. He just sort of starts laughing, but also sort of like breaking down a little bit. It was kind of weird, of course, very psychopathic, they're trying to show there. And the actor, of course, does a very good job. And I'm not gonna butcher his last name right now. I'm just terrible at pronouncing names for some reason. There's also this horse, I think his name is Strider or something, that Susan had learned to ride as a child, but of course, a vampire attacks it as they're watching it, and bites into it, and probably kills it. And it turns out to be Susan's dad. And I thought it was a little bit sort of clunky. They didn't really try to save the horse at all. They just sort of like watched it, and then Vanessa missed it with a gunshot. Then she shot in like the shoulder or something before Sam finally knocked it out. I thought it was weird how they dealt with that there. It was like weirdly off for some reason. I don't know. Then of course they have Susan's father chained up, and Susan sort of like lays into him verbally, just repeating all the stuff that happened with her and her mother, just what he didn't tell her, and everything that happened when they were younger and such. And so I think Hilary Jardine did a good job acting wise in this episode, and she's willing to just leave him there, let him suffer. Vanessa's about to probably decapitate him with a sword. Still waiting to see Vanessa in action with that sword. I still know it's going to be awesome when it goes down. But Susan comes back in, shoots and kills her father, puts him down. It was right, that was her to do it, of course. We have Susan. She goes into the woods. The others are sort of looking for her. Vanessa looks in the barn. Muhammad's looking back in the house. Sam is sent to look into the woods for her, and Susan is sitting by herself in the woods, a little bit of a ways in. At first, it seems like Sam's sort of consoling her. He had seen him do that previously, but now you just get like these weird, sort of creepy vibes from him. When Susan goes to hug Sam, they hug for a second. Then, of course, Sam starts strangling her, and he strangles her to death. And he kills off Susan and takes her finger. So Sam is, in fact, the serial killer. And most people have thought it's been Sam for a while. I thought it was debatable between Sam and Flesh because of what Micah brought up about Flesh in the last episode. With Flesh supposedly having fantasies about killing his family before he was turned. I thought that would have made sense. But Sam, he's definitely the serial killer now. So that means John's death might not have had to happen despite what a drunk asshole he's acting like around Susan. John probably didn't have to die. And then you think about everything else happened as well. Along with the people who died within the first few episodes back at the bunker. But as far as Sam being the killer, I'm sort of mixed on it because the actor definitely does a good job playing that creepy side of Sam, like I talked about, and I think it's definitely effective in that regard. But I would have preferred Sam not to be, not turn out to be this way. I would prefer more of like a sympathetic, tragic backstory of some sort, and have him actually being a good guy. Who's lost a lot and has been through the ringer. But as Sam says later, this is who he is. This is who he's always been. He may in fact be deaf, but it appears that he can speak a little bit more coherently than he lets on sometimes. But yeah, Sam kills Susan. Then we also had Dimitri. He's growing impatient with Rebecca's promises, being able to walk in the sun. And this ties in later with Rebecca. She acknowledges Vanessa's vampire side, her vampiric capabilities, her strength, her ferocity, and her anger, and things like that. Which, I brought before, for quite a few episodes now. I think it's pretty interesting how she seems very animalistic when certain things are going down. And I like that Rebecca sort of called attention to it there. She also says she's probably more vampire than human, and how they can use her blood to sort of balance it out and, allow them to walk in the sun. And, she wants to double the efforts to find her. Of course, Dimitri's still seeming doubtful. He doesn't want to extend any further efforts. He says he still has his plan out there to find her, and he's growing impatient. He's walking through the sun, letting himself burn just a little bit before he walks through it, and then he holds Rebecca in it for a couple of seconds before he lets her go. So I sort of do like that power struggle there. I imagine that Rebecca might try to do something against Dimitri at some point, but it seems like Dimitri's definitely thought of it as the most powerful. So we'll see how that goes. But I still do find Rebecca, Laura Manilla's character, to be the most compelling as far as her antagonists go so far. As I said before. And we had Muhammad. He finds the fingers in Sam's bag, and Sam actually, when Muhammad goes to tell Vanessa, there really wasn't many ways out of this for Sam, but Sam admits to Vanessa that he killed Susan. And Vanessa finds Susan's body. She sort of breaks down over it. She just yells no. She screams no. And I thought it was really good acting here from Kelly Overton. I felt it. There's a knot in my stomach about it. I think a little bit of a knot. I feel like if we had known Susan for a little bit longer, if we had Susan and Vanessa actually, have some sort of a relationship that developed, then it probably would have hit me a little bit harder. Emotionally anyway, but I'm just a little bit more frustrated than anything, to be honest. But still, really good acting from Kelly Overton. She continues to be an increasingly strong lead character, I think. Like I said, Sam says it's who I am, it's who I've always been since I was a boy. Vanessa takes Sam to the woods. Muhammad insists on coming with him. And Sam starts saying stuff, like Muhammad's understanding what he's saying, but he's not telling Vanessa everything that's being said, which is kind of, suspicious in a way. Sam does mention out loud this some sort of truth that Muhammad hasn't shared with Vanessa. So does Muhammad have some sort of knowledge of what Sam's been doing, or have they been picking out who to kill and who not to, or something? I don't think Muhammad's completely like that, but I feel like there is something more to it. I do feel like Muhammad's sort of our Glenn on Van Helsing, of course, like Glenn from The Walking Dead. So I don't think there's going to be anything like totally evil about Muhammad, but I do think there's more of a knowledge he might have had about it, perhaps. I don't know. Because the way he was looking at Sam earlier, he seemed a little bit knowing of what Sam might be up to. But Muhammad, he ends up beating Sam down himself. It was a pretty emotional scene. I think Trezzo did a good job here too, and I thought he was going to actually beat Sam to death, but he says he broke my heart, so I really felt that connection we had seen between them, it's just sort of extinguished here. And Vanessa says we're not killers, but she cuts Sam's legs. I think it was with Muhammad's machete, and just to sort of leave him to be fed on by any passing vampire or something. So that was cool. I'm glad they didn't just leave him there to just leave. I mean, I'm glad he didn't just leave him there so he could like walk away or anything. I'm glad they actually like pretty much crippled him, to leave him to fate hopefully worse than death. Just like right off the bat anyway. But as they're burying Susan, Sam, of course, is spotted by this feral vampire, and Sam tries to crawl away from it. He manages to hold it off before it pins him down, and he stabs it through the head, but before he does, he lets it bite his hand a little bit, and he screams, making Vanessa and Muhammad think that he has been killed, but he did this on purpose, hopefully to turn into a vampire and, be healed and be able to walk around again and such, because, shit's found out, what else is he gonna do? So Sam, he does end up turning into a vampire, runs through the woods. He looks even creepier as a vampire, so again, it's very effective, The actor looks, very creepy as a killer. He's, he works in that type of role. But I just wish this wasn't who Sam was. I don't know, I just would have preferred the other character direction for him. And I'll talk more about how I feel about Susan being killed off in a minute. And, I didn't hear what he was yelling, but he's yelling things, and, Vanessa and Muhammad know he's coming, and it looks like in the next episode they're going to have to deal with him, sort of stalking him through the woods perhaps or something. He'll definitely make an intimidating, vampire for sure, so I'm eager to see how that pans out. But he, they run off, and then they had buried Susan, but of course he digs up her grave and starts feeding on her corpse. Come on. Oh. But before that, we also had Vanessa and Muhammad agreed to travel together for a little bit longer, despite their difference in goals. The base where he thinks Shima is at is on the way to Colorado, so they'll probably go there together. I don't know if they'll reach there by the finale, perhaps. I don't know, but I still do like their connection too. But that's this week's episode. Very conflicted about this one. Like I said, on one hand, Sam's creepy as this version of the character, but I wish he had went a different direction, just because I would like to have seen more of him, in a way, I don't know. But as far as Susan being killed off, I think it was the wrong choice, it just felt really odd, with the way they brought her back, someone actually that knew Vanessa, before the Rising went down, and they established that there could be a potential, relationship between the two, a potential romance, that they could actually, build towards. If Vanessa wasn't ready for it, maybe they could just slowly build that and have that eventually happen the way it should have. So it feels really odd that Susan was just killed off like this, just unceremoniously, just in a very cruel way, with just being strangled to death, and then being fed on after she's dead. I think it was really weird of him to do it. And I know there's going to be a lot of people complaining because obviously Susan, probably wasn't, lesbian, because, she did sort of flirt with John back at the bunker and stuff, even if they were drunk. But she is bi, at least bisexual. Vanessa probably is too. So it feels really odd that Van Helsing's another show that would kill off a character like this that they specifically showed, kissing the main female character on screen. So it feels a little bit odd that Van Helsing has sort of fallen into the category of shows that do that. They have a character, act a certain way with the same sex, and then they get killed off somehow. It is a weird trend for sure. But yeah, I definitely, either way, I don't agree with Susan being killed off right now. I preferred her staying alive and building a relationship with Vanessa. I'm a little bit disappointed, but I will say it was surprising. I didn't see it coming. Sam being the killer, it was somewhat predictable, but I still didn't like them going that way with him. Although, again, he is creepy as hell. But yeah, overall, it was a good episode. I like how most of it was done, minus the Susan stuff. I do still enjoy the show, and I'm really excited for the final episodes. But this episode is a little bit off for me. But I'm still going to give it an 8.6, 8.7 out of 10. I'm just not liking how I feel about the season stuff, mainly. But yeah, let me know what you guys thought about all this. Follow me on Facebook, Twitter, like, subscribe. I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.